Hello, magical people, and welcome to another weekly episode of the As Above, So Below show. My name is Meg Moonbeam, and I'm here with my soul sister, Ashala. How's it going, Ashala?
Hi, Meg. We were just quickly chatting beforehand, and it's like, woo, it's been a rocky ride the last few couple of days. Well, 24 hours probably for me.
Yeah,
How about you, Meg?
I'm feeling the same. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the same, and feels like there's a lot going on. And you used that word right before we went live, triggered. I don't know if you said easily triggered or triggered. That's a word I've been using. Not sure if I've been using it in the As Above, So Below, but definitely in my daily and weekly forecasts. And I'm getting chills as I'm saying this right now, like people very easily triggered at the moment. And I literally just had that happen. And a lot of, we'll get into that, you guys. So before we get into our show's content, as always, thank you so much for joining us. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. Ashala and I both have personal readings available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. The link is in the description box below. And are you noticing the same kind of energy in the readings lately, Ashala? Any particular themes going on at the moment?
Yeah, I've definitely had people reaching out to me, and like I just got really booked up in the last 24 hours. Everybody was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. If you guys have never had a reading with Ashala yet, a psychic tarot reading, definitely, I said it right. Definitely go check that out at the link below. She is a master tarot reader and psychic. So definitely go check that out. And we've got a few promos going on this week, 50% off the Insider Access Pass on Beyond Mystic. So for a limited time, you can use, hi, Margie, nice to see you. Sorry, I'd see our friend Margie there.
Yeah.
You can use code SPRING50, all in one word, to get 50% off the Insider Access Pass. You get to see all the Beyond the News with JC and Janine every week. I was asking Janine the name of the show. The new Wi-Fi, Woo-Fi? I call it the Wi-Fi, the new Woo-Fi. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. All the shows, you can check that out at the Insider Access Pass, as well as special access to when we put out our conference tickets, when we do certain things, that goes to the IAP members first and foremost. And also, our lovely Carla at Ascension Organites has discount code at the moment, Beyond Mystic, all in one word, for 10% off. She's got all her amazing Organite pyramid, Shungite jewelry, and Ashala and I, right before we went live, what did we do, Ashala? We put on this Devil's Club roll-on.
That's it, right there.
Janine was very nice to gift these to us when we were together in person, and Carla is selling them over at Ascension Organites.
Yeah.
Do you know more than me about this, Ashala? How would you explain what the Devil's Club is all about? Because I never heard about it before.
Janine was talking about it, saying that, it's unfortunate it's called Devil's Club because we have some bad associations with that word, but it really is a very strong, the plant itself is very, very protective, meaning that it has been used. I mean, when we think of protection, we also think about literally like keeping away illnesses, improving the immune system, improving the frequency of the body and the function of the aura. When I think of protection, it's not so much about putting on a mask, it's about helping your own inner vitality bolster up. So that's what this is good for.
I love that. That is such a good piece of advice there, Ashala, because it's so true. We can be smudging all day long, doing all these different things, but if we're not taking care of, our vibration in terms of the food we're eating, exercise, just overall well-being, you can do as much of those things as you want. We need to be, as you said, taking care of ourselves first and foremost. So yeah, and it also smells really nice.
It smells nice. It does.
Really nice. So yeah, you guys can go check that out at Ascension Organites. So, okay, Ashala, how are we feeling? Before we get into anything we have on our slide deck, how are you feeling with the energies right now? It's a lot.
Okay, it is a lot. So I want to start by saying in my forecast for this week, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. This is my weekly Saturday forecast for the week. And what I saw, interestingly, I mean, a lot of it looked pretty good, but down in the house of our home, our family, and when we're looking at stuff that's close to home, it's the stuff that's closest to our hearts, which is where it hurts the most if there's any disruption or imbalance or out of alignment. And it looked like that was the case, and that we were going to be feeling that over this next week or 10 days. And that everyone was going to be kind of easily triggered, a lot of emotion post eclipse. So you and I are going to talk about this eclipse energy. And I had just put that out. And that night, Saturday night, I was woken up in the middle of the night to somebody fighting out on the street, like a domestic fight, which I've never heard. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's really right there. And so just, sending a lot of love and compassion to those people, because you could tell it wasn't just strangers fighting. It was people that knew each other and knew how to push the buttons. Yeah. Wow. Right. And it's so hard to see that, and just to really recognize that no one is immune from this, because these are astrological things that are affecting all of us. No one's necessarily on their best behavior. So we all need to sort of step back a bit from confrontation, take a breath, stay in the lane, and all that sort of stuff. So I was prepared for that, but it's still not easy to see that in our close realm. It's still hard.
Yeah, that's so true. It's definitely still hard no matter what, because I was just speaking to someone earlier today about how that family unit, it's kind of like our safety net, and it's kind of like where we go to regroup, whether there's family members that we live with or we see them on a regular basis. It's supposed to be that safe space. And when that kind of gets rocked up, that affects our whole nervous system and well-being, right? Our ancestry. And I didn't get a chance yet, Ashala, to listen to your Saturday Psychic Tarot show, but very interesting that you shared with me right before we went live, similar to what we've been talking about with this eclipse. Oops, this is not the eclipse chart. Let me bring up the eclipse chart. So we just came out of this eclipse season. We're on the other side of the eclipse portal, thank God, because this was a very, very intense one. Lunar eclipse, 23 degrees of Virgo on March 14th. Solar eclipse in Aries, 9 degrees of Aries on March 29th. And what's really interesting about this eclipse is, yes, as we talked about, I think in last week's show, we're going to have the Aries areas of life really highlighted, new beginnings, fresh new energy in those areas for the whole next year. Solar eclipses have an effect for the whole next year. But what we call the dispositor of this eclipse, so Mars, very important to pay attention to the planetary rulers of eclipses or full moons or new moons, because they really set the tone for the lunation and the influence. Mars, he was during the eclipse and still is at full position of Cancer. Okay. And in an exact square to Chiron.
Oh.
So we are under that influence for the whole year. Cancer
being home and family, and our mothers, our our children. Yeah. Wow.
Do you, if you don't mind me asking, Ashala, what do you have your Mars in your chart? Do you know?
Taurus.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's interesting. So you've got Mars in Taurus, which is the detriment position of Mars. So that's his second least favorite place to be, which all the detriment in the fall, they still have beautiful gifts to them. I was born with Mars in Cancer, which is Mars's least favorite place.
So
this energy that we've got going on right now, me and my fellow Mars and Cancers, we have this naturally where we can get really emotionally triggered over literally nothing, right? And Cancers, we love you in the chat. Okay, we're not calling you out, just saying. Cancer is such a beautiful sign that really cares about nurturing others. So many times they'd rather be the crab and keep it within, right? Even if they're really triggered about something, instead of let it out on others, because they're all about nurturing others. But then that can go into outbursts, right? Because there's only so much time that you keep something in until. Have you been noticing that, Ashala? Like this theme of emotional outbursts or really intense emotional triggers, it's like, whoa, 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 calm down. I'm seeing that all around me at the moment.
Definitely. And then people coming in for readings expressing, and this is one of the reasons I love what we're doing here, Meg.
Yeah.
Between the astrology and the cards, we're giving a perspective that this is not just you. You're not just going crazy in your own head. This is not just your wacky family or your relationships that why don't people understand or why aren't they waking up or whatever. It's we're all experiencing our own version of a similar thing.
Yeah, for sure. So should we do a read on how should we approach this Ashala? We're definitely with this Mars and Cancer, which, by the way, we've been in this transit for months now. Since, if I'm remembering correctly, it might have even been September or October. I can't remember the exact month, but this Mars and Cancer has been so long. Mars has been so slow moving. He was retrograde from December to the end of February. So this has been something we've been really divinely called to work through, the family and home conflict and triggers that are coming up. Do you want to do a general read?
Yeah, and I have to ask, like I'm just on the edge of my seat, when does that kind of start to ease up, Meg?
Okay, finally, Mars enters Leo, where he much prefers to be, which is a lot more dramatic, okay, but it is more positive, on April 17th.
Okay.
So we're finally, and Mars takes 2 years to go through all the signs. So we won't have Mars in Cancer for another 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's have a look here and see what, there we go. We're talking about Mars. Interesting. It's, when I think about Mars, I think about motivation. I think about, so is it possible that we can observe all of these things, that they are getting underneath our crabby skin to give us a push and motivate us, get us in line with, where have we sort of retreated and gone, into personal, maybe even a little bit of self-pity or whatever, and are needing to reconnect with divine inspiration and motivation. And sometimes you have to have a bit of a boost to get you going, right?
Right.
Okay. So that feels like that is what is happening. But interestingly, this does not look like getting motivated. This looks like driving deeper into your own shell. So what happens when we get attacked? The first thing we do is we close in further and further and further, right? So it feels like there's some kind of stimulus around growth, getting out of ruts, getting into better alignment with our destiny, with our purpose, getting motivated by true integral motivation. But the first response is to retreat. So we're all kind of pulling back and doing this kind of protective inward thing. Oh, so we're going to come out of this a lot clearer about what is holding us back. Because again, when I think about Mars, I think about like go get 'em energy, right? The energy of what is motivating us, what is getting us out of inertia. So this family thing, and where do we get triggered the most, is the closest to home.
Yes.
Doing the very important job of kind of pushing us. First, it's pushing us to go inward, and then it's going to push us to get clear. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
That is beautiful, Ashala. Thank you so much for that. And also very interesting that I did a Psychic Spies episode with Janine earlier today, and at least 2 times, might have even been 3 or 4 times, she pulled the King of Wands. So if you wouldn't mind, could we talk a little bit about what is that King of Wands about?
Well, the Wands cards are about activation, creativity, courage, fire, passion. The Kings, so the court cards, there are 4 of them. There's a page, a knight, a queen, and a king in each of the 4 suits. the kings are the masters. They have got to the level, it doesn't necessarily mean men or women, but it means level of mastery.
Right.
So they are, there's no stopping them. And we used to call Mr. T the King of Wands. It was like, that was what I associated, the trump card kind of thing, because it was just like this, there's no stopping. The motivation is literally on steroids. It's like, go for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that King of Wands, again, it's about, and I'm thinking it also relates to, of course, the fire signs in the zodiac, but especially this Aries energy, this get going, get motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a lot about getting us unstuck and being really loud and proud and bold and going the distance, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so cool. And so I guess it's very important for us to kind of not poo-poo the fact that everybody's very sensitive right now, and there will likely be triggers, and there will likely be conflicts. We talk about it, we've been seeing it in the cards and the astrology. Now we're actually living it, which is the more challenging part. So kind of be that King of Wands and deal with it head on. And I keep hearing intuitively the past week, Ashala, for us to pick our battles. Pick the battles, because it's very easy for us to literally battle about any little thing at the moment, especially if you've got loved ones around you that are maybe not on the same page. You could literally battle about anything at any moment, constantly. So I think that's kind of been my motto for going into this week is, okay, I'm picking my battles. Is that worth the fight? Is that worth the argument? Is that worth the energy when we're dealing with so much already?
Interesting, Meg. I love what you're saying, because this would indicate maybe we don't know which battle to pick, and that's why we're going in. That's why we're going inward. So what you just said is like, it's actually makes a lot of sense that we would say, hold on, I'm not going to pick every battle, but I don't even know how to discern which ones I do want to pick. So then we have to go in and decide that. We have to take a bit of inward time. So if it forces you inward, the message is, don't worry about that. That's actually going to be a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. DigiBean says, be your own observer. Yeah, it's very powerful medicine to observe. And if you have a crazy reaction, that's okay. We don't need to be hard on ourselves. It's in the astrological weather that we can be more reactive, but to try our best to observe and not to absorb, and kind of like what you just said, Ashala, sit on, okay, I don't know if that's a battle that needs to be fought right now. Maybe you won't even be thinking about it anymore a day from now, 2 days from now, a week from now, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we can get so upset about something and then it's like we never think about it again, like the next day or after a few days.
Right.
Right. Oh my God. It's so cool how the cards always align with the astrology. For sure.
Well, and I want to just point out that we've got all these swords. I mean, swords are the mind, and the magician often is connected to communication in the mind. So I feel like the energy of the trigger pushes us in, but it's the change is in the mind. Like we're actually, it's not the energy that we're changing, it's our understanding and our awareness and our perspective that's going through a change. So in a way we can say thank you for that trigger, because my mind is ready. And we talked about this. I actually talked about this the last couple of weeks on my forecast, my weekly forecast, a lot of deprogramming the mind in these next few weeks and months.
Wow.
So these triggers close to home, they do a great job of forcing us to go in and look at, what am I hanging on to? Sometimes I literally go into my operating system, which is my strategic mind, not so much in the vision and the work I do, but in my personal day-to-day life. I go, wow, I can't believe I'm still like following that old operating system. I don't even like it. I don't even believe in that anymore. Why am I? But you have to kind of go in and repattern some stuff to make permanent changes. Even sometimes we say, oh yeah, I'm going to change that. And then a week later, we're like, I'm doing it again. Right? It's like, I thought I changed that. I guess just recognizing it is not enough. And then we're going, okay, I'm going to go. And the guides are saying, when we're faced with that, when we're faced with, there I go again, doing that same thing that I said I wasn't going to do. It means we want to go a little deeper and get more to the source of where is that coming from.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's making me just, and funny, you brought up Kundalini Yoga. You were sharing with me Kundalini Yoga right before we went live. I just looked up because I can't remember where I heard this from, but 40, probably a bunch of different places, but 40 days to reprogram our brain. I know some traditions, they'll talk about 30 days, 40 days. I've heard that, I think, the most. And interesting, according to Kundalini Yoga teachings, it takes 40 days to change a habit. This is from globalsoulyoga.com.
40 days. There's the Four of Swords.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a long game plan, and I'm guessing we're leading into talking now about the eclipse as well, because this is not necessarily a quick fix, whatever it is that we're going through right now. I think it's going to ease off. There's going to be some highs and lows with it, but yeah, 40 days, that's a bit of a longer commitment, right?
Yeah, and that totally makes sense, Ashala, what you're saying too with the Western astrology. I was saying I did my April forecast on Friday, and I said, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to be honest with you that all of April, other than this first week that we're in right now, we actually have some really nice aspects, even though we've got Mars in Cancer, we got Mars square Chiron, that was exact last Wednesday. We've got some really nice aspects this week where I think this week will actually be, and even though some of us are still feeling it intensely, this will actually be the lightest week of the month, even until Gemini season. So all the rest of Aries season, all of Taurus season is going to be very emotionally triggering and challenging. I'm just going to be honest with you guys.
Oh, goodness.
With the lunations, with the aspects. So it's funny what you said there, Shal. It's like we're not being punished. And not to just put it on this 40 days thing that just popped into my mind, but some things take time for us to work through. Like you said, it's not just a quick fix.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And right? What I want to notice, and I'm going to pull a couple of cards on this, if this is okay. Yeah. I get a feeling one of the things that feels different, because what I've noticed in readings lately is that the guides are often saying we need to think differently about where we are, especially I'm thinking post all the things, right? Like, what is it? The Pluto going out of Capricorn into
Aquarius, yeah.
And then we're looking at post this particular eclipse, which is a huge reset, and it feels like we are at a place in our evolution post the conference, even, right? We're at a place where we don't need to assume that the recovery or the how things are going to play out are going to look like they used to.
Right.
And that what I've noticed is, even though I can go pretty far down pretty quickly, I can kind of pop back up and recover pretty fast. It's almost like there's a frequency lift or something energetically. So I'm only going to pull 2 cards about this. Yeah, it's like we're literally getting sort of up leveled or pushed, and there's this little flourish of energy. It's almost like they're saying we get pushed ahead a little bit more, and then it's back to stay grounded, to stay, a lot of it is really about communication. It's about repatterning our minds, and we're going to get pushed, and then we're going to recover and stabilize again, and then get ready because there's another one coming.
Yeah.
right?
Oh
But
my God.
but if you think of it almost like they're showing it like little stair steps, like every time we go through one of those, I mean, the other version is what? We just get catapulted straight upwards and
Mhm.
go through the tower and the devil and all these really scary cards. It's like
Yeah.
these are little stair step evolutions. And I think, the guys are saying, just go, yeah, that works for me.
Right. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow. So cool. Yeah. And to this eclipse, I mean, it's such an intense one that we are under the influence of for the whole next year. And it kind of ties into the overall transits as well of, from now until Gemini season, quite challenging. And then the summer, the transit sees off, but then we have that Saturn Neptune conjunction very, very strong, almost exact July and August at 0, 1 degrees of Aries. Won't be exact until February 2026. This whole year, we're getting absolutely slam dunked with once in a lifetime, once in a generation transits where someone said in the comments, I think it was DigiBean, we're adapting to the new energies.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it can't all happen at once. And this theme of not being too hard on ourselves, I think, is very important that we're bringing up as well. Because there may be setbacks. I mean, we're in retrogrades. We're in Mercury retrograde. We're in Venus retrograde. There may be setbacks. There may be plans that are changing. There may be total life changes from what you thought was going to be the
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Definitely. Definitely. And we can say, well, it would be like, I keep going back to, let's say 2 years ago. And a lot of people were like, come on, we just want it all to change. And we want the economy to crash. And and it's so interesting now that the big changes are underway. Everyone's like, no, 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 we don't want that. No, no, we want it slow. We want it slow. It's like, we were actually calling it in a couple of years ago and going, yeah, let's slash and burn this old system and let's get it out of the way. And now we're all like, whoa, it's happening. And yeah, I think let's go slow and steady,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really also about we want this to actually work, right? We don't want to just sort of stab at it and flail. We want we want to get stronger. We want to improve our frequency, improve our health, like up level gradually so that
Mm-hmm.
it's sustainable, basically, right?
Yeah, for sure. Awakened Carolina says it sounds like childbirth.
Right?
Wow.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never given birth yet, but yeah, I can it does probably sound like childbirth.
It does.
For
Yeah.
sure. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up with the eclipse, Ashala, before we move on?
So interesting. I saw something when I was down a rabbit hole, or I don't know, it popped up in my feed or something, and it was something about that this eclipse is one of the more major ones
Mm-hmm.
there hasn't been one where that many planets were stacked in. Anyway, it was
Mm-hmm.
referencing back to a really major eclipse that happened in the spring of 1962.
Wow.
63 years ago. And that really piqued my curiosity because I was like, hey, wait a minute. I was born in the spring of 1962.
Oh my God.
And so I looked into it and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much similarity from that little phase, which was the window of what I came in on. I came in during that time period and whatever the 4 to 6 months following that eclipse. So, and then you remember, Meg, because I contacted you and I was like, I did a forecast for myself for this year and it looks a little scary over like
Right.
3 or 4 months right around my birthday, which is at the end of May. And
Mm.
so I put the pieces together. And what that is showing me really is that it's like for so many of us, and a lot of our audience are baby boomers, this is a repeat of let's just say, a catalytic up leveling force that we were part of a wave that happened before, but that one was a lot about pulling us down into corporatocracy, top-down control. So all of the corporate energy was really ramping up. And like we know, the dark force made huge power plays in the last 50 or 60 years, right? So it's just interesting that we're at another one of those big catalytic up levelers, but this one is taking us into the new earth. It's taking us, it's almost like we had that last really heavy dark phase, and a lot of our audience were alive, and we went through our formative years during all of that. So I feel like we bring something, and the young, I've been really looking into the different generations and what their strengths are, like the X generation and the Y generation and the Z generation, and and it's just interesting to see how we all play a part. We all have a different role to play in how the healing and the transformation can happen. So that's what I'm thinking. This eclipse is especially for the boomers. This is our opportunity to kind of do our own healing. And as we do that around a lot of these topics, as we do that, we're helping to clear the whole collective.
Oh my goodness, Ashala, you're blowing my mind, because I never even looked into that or thought to look into the last time we had, and not even the last time we would have had a stellium of planets, like you said, the conglomeration, because that is very unique. This is going to freak you guys out. So I think I found the chart for this eclipse that you're talking about. March 6th, 1962, right before the spring equinox.
Yes.
Stellium in Pisces. Look at all that Aquarius. Look at all that Aquarius. And this eclipse, 15 degrees of Pisces, our next eclipse in September will be 15 degrees of Pisces. So we are in the same eclipse cycle. We have Virgo, Pisces eclipses.
Oh my gosh.
The year that you were born.
Oh my gosh. So, and for so many of our, community and our audience, this is significant. This has been, we were alive during those times, and those were our formative years. And there's something that we hold something that when we do that healing around those pieces. So tell me a little bit about that, Meg, that Pisces Aquarius.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Pisces eclipses are always spiritual activation, awakening points. And also Pisces and Virgo eclipse cycles are deeply healing and cleansing and detoxifying, because it's the health axis, right? Virgo is the physical health, also the mental health. Pisces is also mental health, but more so the spiritual health, the health systems. And very interesting, Pisces and Aquarius both have to do with drugs and, kind of altering your mind and doing really trippy things, and kind of the dark side. Okay, yes, there can be plant medicine and you can have healing from that, la, 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 la. Okay. But the dark side of rock and roll, the dark side of the hippie movement, I don't know if you've ever gone down that rabbit hole, Ashala, but many of those musicians, might have been planted, or their families came from military.
Yep.
Like, all this stuff is being revealed. It can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, but there was definitely a huge new frequency, Aquarius, coming through at that time, and through the people being born around that time as well. And Pluto in Virgo. So you were born, what year were you born, Ashala?
62.
62. Okay, so you got your Pluto and Virgo generation. I'm always fascinated. I'd love to do, maybe one day we could do a show together just on the Pluto generations, because that's fascinating to look at that.
Oh, well, and how long did that run for?
Well, Pluto spends different amount of time in each of the signs. Pluto and Virgo, how long was Pluto and Virgo? I know Pluto and Leo was mid 1940s to the end of the 1950s. And that was the baby boom, and Leo rules children. Pluto is to give birth and the cycles of life and death. So of course, Pluto and Leo, you're going to have a big baby boom. You're going to have a whole bunch of people being born. The opposite sign of of Leo is Aquarius. Yeah. We're now in Pluto and Aquarius. Every time we have Pluto in Aquarius, there's less people being born.
Oh my God.
Population decline.
Wow.
Paying attention to the Pluto, and then your generation, 1962, and the whole 60s, early 70s, if I'm calculating this correctly at the top of my head, Pluto and Virgo, you guys are healers. Virgo, you are the generation of a healing frequency.
Mm-hmm.
You're detoxifying the old and the systems that are.
Yeah.
And then the next generation, Pluto and Libra, going into the 70s and the 80s, they're transforming through relationships and intimacy and how we connect with other. And then my generation, Pluto and Scorpio, we're like the survivalists. We're going to help us get through these times.
A big shift.
A big shift. Yeah, we're like
the death and rebirth, like the midwives. You're the midwives.
Yeah, we're like, okay. And then there's the Pluto in Sagittarius after us. And they're interesting because they just want to expand their minds. Mm-hmm. So they can have a hard time dealing with the corporatocracy and the matrix. So it's paying attention to the Pluto generation is very fascinating. And I never actually looked at a chart from this year that wasn't a person. So I'm like looking at it the first time just in general. And this is really cool. The astrology of the year that you were born.
Now I'm remembering that the date that I looked up for the particular eclipse that was referred to as the last one was, I think, February 3rd or something like that of that year. So
February
is there an earlier one from that one?
Let me see.
And it was a whole bunch of planets in Capricorn, I think.
February.
So,
unless you were looking at a different kind of astrology. Might have been, yeah, because 1962, it would have been Aquarius.
Okay.
Telling the planets in Aquarius.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It might have been. It might have been a different kind of astrology that I was looking at, but that is clearly the same thing in Western astrology. If it's that much going on, and that's like not your average solar eclipse, right?
This is like not your average transits at all. And one of the things I wanted to bring up with you, sorry, did you want to say something, Charlotte?
I was just going to say, yeah, like blow our minds, like, oh, how many are all stacked together, right? Yeah.
It's just absolutely nuts. And now, as of Sunday, was it Sunday? No, as of Saturday, March 30th, we are now, let me get rid of this chart and bring up the other chart. We are officially in Neptune in Aries transit for the first time since 1875. We have Neptune in Aries. So Aries, new beginnings, fresh new energy, action. Also what we've been kind of talking about, anger, frustration, these primal emotions. Mm-hmm. The most sensitive planet, Neptune in Aries, bringing new beginnings to those Neptunian areas of life, including spirituality, including the arts, including the medical field. And I feel like things are going to start to move faster. I'm segueing into, I want to ask you a question with the cards, Ashala, but just part of this is, you said last week in the cards when we were looking at the pyramids, you know, what was just found out about the pyramids, and there's the whole crazy architecture going 2 kilometers down, and it's likely a power plant. And you said, I feel like sooner rather than later, there's going to be more discoveries starting to happen. And then I said, yeah, that makes sense with Neptune going to Aries. It feels like time is going faster. Things are picking up speed. If you don't mind, you guys, let's take a quick listen to this little video about how the CIA supposedly found the Ark of the Covenant in 1988. Okay, let's take a listen to this.
This is wild. Newly declassified CIA documents reveal that in 1988, the CIA located the Ark of the Covenant. If you don't know what the Ark of the Covenant is, it is an ancient artifact that people around the world have been searching for in a real-life treasure hunt. It is a wooden chest encrusted in gold, and inside, it is supposed to hold the original tablets of the 10 Commandments. The documents show that this was under Project Sunstreak. They used remote viewing to find the Ark of the Covenant, which they say now is in Ethiopia. In other words, they used advanced psychics and people that were well-versed in telepathy. We know that the CIA and the intelligence communities have been using these gifted people for their different various projects for a while now, but to see it written down on these declassified documents is crazy. Those documents believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, but there's been a lot of speculation if Donald Trump has the real Ark of the Covenant at Mar-a-Lago, because he has a complete replica of it there. Was the worldwide treasure hunt over, or has it just begun?
Woo! Oh my goodness. So Ashala, is that even true? Okay, important for us to be in discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Could we do a read, and what are you maybe picking up? Is that even true that the Ark of the Covenant was discovered in 1988?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I heard a long, long time ago that the Ark of the Covenant was in Ethiopia. Like, I heard that in the 80s. So maybe. I think that story's been around for a long time. And I did, it's got to be late 80s, early 90s that I heard that the CIA had found it. So this is a bit of an old story, but it's resurfacing. And I don't necessarily agree. I mean, whether or not what stones or technologies are inside of it, it certainly is a technology. Mm-hmm. If you look at the history and all the different stories and the mythologies around it, it is it's not just a cultural artifact, it is a technological artifact, and there's some indication that there's several of them, that there could be versions of it that were in, ancient Mesopotamia, in Egypt. There's talk about there being arcs in like the UK, the British Isles, and it's basically an ancient Atlantean technology. Wow. So is there one? That's going to be the first card. Is there more than one? Is there one located in Ethiopia at the moment? And does Donald Trump have one? Let's look at those three.
Yeah.
Is there one? Is there more than one? Interesting. Look at it. Almost looks like, the Chariot card is it's got a canopy, it's got a box. It's like
what the heck?
Of any of the cards of the tarot that could look like that, the Chariot looks the most like the Ark. So is there more than one? I would think, when I think about it and I see this, what I'm being shown is that it is something that can be made. So it is let's just call it a technology that can be built. Mm-hmm. So maybe the real, unless you're going to reverse engineer it, the real gift would be to have the blueprint and the knowledge of how to build it, what it's used for, what it's good for, and what it's dangerous. What are the benefits and the drawbacks, just like any technology, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't want it in the hands of people that are going to use it for controlling purposes. Is it in Ethiopia? It feels like it might have been, but it has been either recently moved or, it feels like this is a sudden change going in a new direction. And that is a traveling card. So maybe it has recently been transported somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I wonder about that. Mm-hmm. Does Donald Trump have it? Well, I feel like he certainly has a replica. So that would indicate that he has access to plans. Whether or not they know exactly what to do with it and how it's used, not sure about that. Can't clarify on that, because this feels very much, if you were looking at, this isn't a technology card, this is an artifact card. This would be like, hey, I've got this incredible thing encrusted in gold, and it's a thing of rare beauty and incredible value, but can it do what that technology did? So I would say he probably has an amazing replica, but whether or not he has the plans of what to do with it, on how to use it, I'm not sure.
Interesting. Okay, and you might have already answered this, Shawl, with what you just did, but Tracy Ann Pro says, remember in the Indiana Jones movie, at the end, the Ark was put into storage. Was that a consent move saying we found it and we are hiding it away? That's a supplemental question. Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. I think so. Definitely. Yep. And waiting for another time.
Wow.
Interesting that it's also about waiting for humanity to be emotionally mature and overall stable, in our psychology. Like right now, you just don't want to throw something like a technology like that into the everything's already going chaotic, right? We don't want to throw extra energy on, like it's like putting fuel on a fire, right?
Yeah.
So it might be longer that we have to wait before the actual technology and what it's really good for is revealed, because if it falls into the hands of the wrong people or people that aren't quite ready to utilize it in a good way, it can do more harm than good, is what I'm getting.
Right. Oh my gosh. So interesting. Such a good question, Tracy. Thank you so much. It makes sense. In plain sight, a lot of these movies have things.
Definitely.
Okay, we're getting close to the hour mark, Ashala. Would you maybe like to do readings for each of the sign elemental groups for, did we do the Neptune and Aries transit? We didn't get to talk too much about that, or just this kind of week ahead, just take it like week by week with everything that's going on, post eclipse.
Sure.
Mercury, Venus retrograde, first week of Neptune and Aries. There's a lot going on for each of the sign groups. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah. So starting off with the first group.
We'll start with the fire signs. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarians.
Woo, love it. Okay, so, nice, strong, upright, clear, dynamic. Nice, bright. Look at this.
Wow.
Going through a gateway. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So, when I think about all this Aries energy and I think about the fire signs, which naturally can use energy to like come into frequency, this is a lot about alignment. It's a lot about using the catalytic energy of this next, well, even 3 or 4 weeks, but certainly this week, to go through a gateway. This is like an up-leveling card. It's not the big gateway, but it's like, again, another one of those little stair steps. So leveling up, especially around creativity, the courage to be your wild self, live outside the box a bit. And yeah, courage and clarity and coming into alignment feels really big for the
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Cool. Thank you for that. And now we'll go to our earth signs for the week ahead. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn.
Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. It's always so interesting to me how the signs, depending on what's going on, like if it's something that, like I've noticed a lot of this Piscean energy, my Piscean friends are kind of like, yawning. Like, yeah, I know. Like when we go through big Scorpio transits or whatever, my Scorpio friends are like, yeah, I'm used to this, whatever. Yeah. Now you're all going through it. I live like this. And so it really feels like our fire signs, certainly they were like, yeah, this feels good to them. So let's see how our earth are holding up. Ooh, a little bit. So all that energy disrupts that. I think this is why I did this preamble, was because it's a little disruptive for the earth signs. They're like, no, I don't like all this go, everything changes. Right. But wow, would you like it, Earth signs, if there was a reward at the end of this for you? And it does look like there is. It looks like, there's a little bit of frustrating upheaval, and then something shifts that brings immediate, tangible, either financial or some kind of material reward or gift. So it's worth going through it. Earth signs. Yep. And interesting. So this is fascinating that we would get this first and then this following it.
Right.
And what that feels to me is like, it feels like they're saying, don't go back to sleep, Earth signs. Don't go back to the comfort and the security of your old ways. Like, so you're going to get a bump up here. You're going to get a reward for that. Don't go back into old stuck habits. It feels like it's important for the Earth signs to stay in that energy of activation. So
interesting. Okay, thank you. And now we have our, did I mess up here? Our air signs. Yeah, air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Mercury retrograde typo.
Tracy says, no nappy poos for the Earth signs. Right? Oh my gosh. Okay, air signs. Well, here we go.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay, so it's a long game for the air signs, and the interesting, that little bit of a retreat. I'm hearing that song, like I'm just sitting here watching the world go by. Like air signs, just watch the world go by this week. Just take a back seat and watch life go by. And just know that your time is coming. And this is like, while you're watching the world go by, everyone is watching you kind of come to light. So that's interesting, because we have the same with the earth signs. The air signs could go back into this, like, it feels like they could go back into like sort of a deep dive, and maybe that's good for them. I'm not sure, but it does feel like they're saying, pull back, watch the world go by, and while you're doing that, everyone is watching you wake up. So that's cool.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And is it last? Yeah, last but not least, we've got our water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces.
Okay, here we go. Aha. Strong karma card. And clarification, messages, new ideas. Whoa, nice. So in a way, the water signs, it's very interesting that I was just saying that about all the Scorpio and all the Piscean energy. I think the water signs are going to really do well this week with staying grounded, keeping their eye on, this is karma. It's both your own karmic, let's just say, clearing work. It's also seeing the effect. We used to call it automatic karma. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Instant karma. It's like watching where, we saw that person or that political force or whatever do this thing, and we were like, wow, are they going to get away with that? And then automatic or instant karma comes back and gets them. So for some reason, I think the water signs kind of like that. They like it when, like, it's going to come around. What goes around comes around. And I think you're going to see a lot of that this week, water signs. You're going to see a lot of the instant karma of the things that you knew. And so it's going to feel good to be like, I was right about that. And karma played out and the person got.
This is what every Scorpio wants to hear.
I'm not trying to make it sound like you guys are like
Cancers.
everybody's. But it is a little bit like there is some satisfaction in going, you know what? It all works out. And I think there's that feeling of, you guys process so much emotion and you feel everything. And you're like, there's a feeling of the injustice of how can these things happen? And people just walk by and they don't even feel it. And you have to carry that around for the collective, and so it is really nice to see when karma comes around and gets its,
and gets to work and does its thing.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Well, thank you so much, Ashala, for that. Tracy says, haha, you guys are killing me. Yeah, it's so funny with all the signs. We've got funny stuff about us. Okay, cool. Well, wow. An hour has just flown by. Time just feels like it's just going by so fast lately. Before we finish up tonight's show, or this afternoon, this morning show, wherever you are in the world, just to give you guys a little update, what we got coming up in the week ahead. Ashala, you're going to be doing your Psychic Tarot show Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Is it usually 4 p.m. or I thought it was earlier? Oh, okay. 4 p.m. Eastern, you got your Psychic Tarot show on Saturday, and we've got our regular programming for the whole rest of the week. I don't think there's anything that's missing or anything like that. So you guys can go check the schedule out at beyondmystic.net. And remember, I was going to say Ashala's, Carla's beautiful website, Ascension Organite. She has 10% off sale at the moment with code Beyond Mystic, all in one word. The Shungite jewelry, the Organite pyramids, the Devil's Club, as we were talking about at the beginning, very, very good for protection and grounding, and 50% off the Insider Access Pass on Beyond Mystic. You can get access to all programming that we have to offer. Check that out at beyondmystic.net, as well as readings with Ashala, psychic tarot card readings. And Ashala is an amazing reader, you guys. If you're ever wanting to have a psychic tarot reading, definitely go book in with her. Link is in the description box below. So until next week, you guys, have a magical week out there, and we will see you all soon. We're going to get, the next time we talk, Ashala, Mercury will be direct. So thank God for that. Okay. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.